So it's the end of 2019 and we are heading into 2020. And so it felt right to kind of sit down and do one of these update videos I do every so often, just kind of breaking down what I've been up to lately and, what's coming up next and just kind of my thoughts on things, maybe some personal stuff, some health stuff, and, just try to be transparent with you about, things going on essentially. And usually this is kind of just for my, closest followers, but hopefully a video like this can also maybe get out to a wider audience as I kind of maybe run through these things. I think because most people out there will probably know me to some degree, right? But maybe they don't really watch my content a lot. So maybe this will even be able to kind of reach out to those people and kind of let them know what's going on essentially. And so this year, like most years, it's kind of a mixed bag, right? I think there was a lot of great things that happened for me this year and a lot of things to be happy about and proud of. But then there's obviously some things that are also a bit worrisome and kind of make the future seem a little bit uncertain, I guess is the point. And so I just kind of want to talk through all of that. As far as the work I did throughout this year, I did 7 physical LANs and then I did 2 remote gigs for LAN. So that's like 9 LAN events I was involved with in some capacity total throughout the year. Also did some online stuff here and there. I think some of the big things is I continued to work with DreamHack Open, which has kind of been something I've been doing for the last few years. So great to continue on with that. I was remote casting both DreamHack Masters events, which again is great to be a part of a big event. Obviously the goal is always to be at the main event and be a part of the main broadcast team, but it's still great to play a role in the event even if you can't be there. And also gave an opportunity for me and Vince to duo again between DreamHack Open and DreamHack Masters, which is a really big goal for us this year. And I'm glad we were able to do that a bit. We wanted to do a lot more. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen for us, but maybe they can happen in the future. And I felt like we were able to improve the duo and make some key adjustments and get to a really good place with it. And I think that we are capable of great things if we can, get some more opportunities together. I think the potential is really there. So that was great too. And then another big one is, working with EPL for the first time. Being able to work with ESL was great because they're obviously a really big company in the space. I hadn't really worked with them much in the past other than a couple of online things. I think I did like a New York qualifier one year, maybe a remote stuff for I think maybe an IM Oakland or something like that a while back. So I haven't really worked with them very much. So getting to work with them for EPL Season 9 in a brief capacity, and then EPL Season 10 for pretty much the entire season as far as the, like studio group stage stuff. I mean, I wasn't at the playoffs in Denmark, but I still did, I think, 15 out of the 18 broadcast days for the first 2 group stages. So that was a really big gig for me. And so it was really big to be able to do that. And again, I did do a pretty good amount of stuff. There were obviously some situations that hurt. There was like a 2-month period kind of, and towards the beginning of the year, I wasn't really doing anything. There was like a 4-month period between, I think, like May and September where I didn't do anything. So it's really, really tough to have those big gaps where you're not getting any gigs at all. Because obviously it's affecting your exposure, it's affecting your consistency, it's affecting your financial stability, it's also kind of affecting your confidence almost in a way. You're always kind of wondering, am I not good enough, or what's going on? That uncertainty, that fear of not getting hired again. There is a lot that goes on with that, mentally and financially and things of that nature. So, there's definitely some moments this year that are a little bit tougher, but again, I felt like I did do a great job with opportunities I was given. I felt like I did have some pretty cool accomplishments, particularly being able to work with one of the pro leagues and get to work with Vince again. And then obviously I had some fun with the No Majors clubs, both majors. So I was at every day of both No Majors clubs, and those are always a great time, for just kind of getting out there, letting people get to see a different side of you, having fun with, your fellow talent. And I feel like that was all great stuff. And so that's kind of how my year was. Now, as far as just kind of breaking down some of the overall positives for the year, first off, I felt like I did improve my craft a bit. I think my delivery is getting better. I think that I could still work on talking speed a bit. And obviously, you're sometimes going to get stuck in, catchphrases or verbal fillers. But I feel, I've become a bit more polished. My delivery is the point. And also, I feel that I've gained a bit more confidence, which has really helped me deliver better. And it's also allowed me to loosen up a bit more. Because I feel for a while there was like I had this chip on my shoulder. I was constantly trying to prove that I belonged, that I knew what I was talking about, that I deserved to be, in these desk analyst and color casting roles, despite the fact I wasn't a former professional player. That chip on your shoulder is always kind of there. And so, I felt like I was able to finally move past that a bit. Again, have that confidence and allow me to have a bit more fun with the broadcast, which allows me to banter a bit better and kind of add to the entertainment value outside of just being a guy regurgitating facts. Right. And so I think I still need to improve those areas. I think you always can. But I feel like I did make some really great strides, particularly in my duo with Vince. I felt like I was able to, add some comedic factors to our cast. I think it's important because you never want to be like super stale. Like, obviously want to focus on the game and bring the coverage, but you also want to have fun with it, because if you're having fun, the audience is probably having fun. That's not always the case. Maybe they think you're a little bit cringy or corny or something like that. But in general, usually, if you're having a great time, so is the audience. And so I think that was great. Also, I was able to maintain my strengths with my work ethic, with my research, and all that good stuff. So I think it was great that I was able to maintain the things I felt were kind of core to me and what my strengths were. And then I was able to kind of, add things with delivery and looseness and things of that nature as well. Again, I think being a part of one of the pro leagues and work with ESL, well, it's great to kind of get my foot in the door and kind of start that relationship. Rekindling the duo with Vince was also, again, something that was really great. And then, all in all, I think throughout this year, I proved that I was really versatile. I did some play-by-play casting, I did some color casting, mostly color casting, and then I did some desk work between like Rio and EPL and Arctic Invitational and stuff like that as well. So I think that's great. And then I also work with a bunch of different people throughout the year as well. Like, I wasn't always getting to work with Vince in a duo. I was sometimes working with Jason Kaplan or casting with someone else, or, doing analyst desk, and some of the analyst desk stuff were different people I hadn't done desk work with before. And so, or working with hosts I hadn't worked with before. And so I think that's always big, is proving that you can be versatile, because it obviously opens up doors for more opportunities. And so I think that was a big part. And I think another big thing this year is that I continue to get a lot of respect from my peers. Whether it be publicly or privately, I felt like I was getting, really good reception from my peers. I think Henry G put out like a big tweet, and now someone I don't even really get to talk to. And he noticed that I was doing a great job and kind of gave me a shout out. Richard did like a long form interview with me and tried to use that to help get me some exposure and let people learn about me more. So that's just kind of a couple of examples, but there's a lot of talent, either behind the scenes or maybe publicly on tweets or what have you, that have, shown that they respect my work, think I do a great job, and have my back. And I think that is fulfilling in its own right to be respected by, people who know this job, who also do this job. And I think that's something that kind of makes you feel good, right? Like, it's great to have that good relationship and to have that type of backing. And then even the community response has been great lately. I feel like my content's been getting received better lately. People have been giving me some positive feedback for my work at some of these most recent events between like Rotterdam and EPL and stuff like that. And, my AMA had some good reception. My interview with Richard had some good reception. I've had good reception from like the No Majors Club folks who are a part of that community as far as viewers and stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of positives in that regard. And so I think there's a lot to be happy about, to be proud of, and to really just kind of enjoy about the year. And so it's not all doom and gloom. It's my point. Like, there's definitely a lot of great things that I'll definitely remember as I head into 2020. But there also is some things that, make the future really seem uncertain and kind of do worry me a little bit. And so I don't, again, mean to be like overly pessimistic or something like that, but I think I'm just trying to be transparent and kind of my thought process, because, this is my passion. It is important to me. And sometimes it can be great and it can lift you up. And then sometimes it really kind of hurts. And, you have to just try to muscle through. But just to kind of get this a little bit, I think in some regards I have plateaued, which is always kind of worrisome. And it's not like quite a downward spiral yet, but when I say plateau, I mean consistency in the amount of work that I'm getting. I feel like it's about the same as last year. I think maybe even I worked a little bit less this year than last year, maybe like one less event. Wasn't a big difference, but still, I was kind of hoping to build more consistency, get out there even more often. These couple of down periods I had in 2019 were definitely really troublesome. And I really want to break out of that. It'd be great to just average at least like one event a month, maybe you get lucky one month and you get a couple of events, but it really would be nice to get out there more, because I want this to be my full-time focus, and it is my full-time focus right now. And yeah, part of that's on me. I probably should have a long time ago got like more part-time work, outside of esports to kind of supplement my income or what have you. But I really wanted to focus as hard as I could on what gigs I was getting, preparing for those gigs, putting out content, doing other things with my life as well, actually having a little bit of a life. So that's on me. And I did actually change that this year. Throughout this year, I've actually been working on getting some certifications done so I can do some part-time work next year outside of esports to have a bit more of a financial safety net. So that is kind of something I'm already working on. But yeah, I want to be more consistent in esports, and particularly as a broadcaster. And so that is a bit of a concern. With that in mind, as far as consistency goes, it's tough right now for me on the analyst end of things, because I feel we have, outside of me, probably 8 to 10 other fairly regular analysts in the scene that do work fairly consistently, either at my level or more. And when I mean that by level, I mean like just the amount of work that they're doing, right? I don't want to get into some type of debate on like who's objectively better. A lot of it can be subjective as well. So I'm not going to get into all that. But there's like 8 to 10 people out there besides me who work that's fairly regularly, I would say. And then you probably have like another 4 or so that kind of come in and out, who do some work here and there. Maybe they take breaks. Maybe it's not their main focus, but they still work a fair amount. And then you also just have kind of randomly either active pro players or maybe pro players transitioning between teams and they haven't joined their new team yet, or maybe they're considering retiring or taking a break or whatever, or what have you, and they just kind of randomly slot in for an event. And that's kind of out of nowhere. You can never really expect those numbers. You don't know what those numbers are going to be. Like this year, you had like Get Right randomly do ECS. I think Nifty did a blast. So you can never quite know when those type of situations are going to pop up as well. So with that said, let's say you have 12-ish analysts that kind of work in the CSGO space. There's a large amount of analysts and a large amount of regulars, but most events only have 2 or 3 analyst desk spots. Some very rare occasions, you'll have like 4. And so with that being said, because I don't have as big of a brand as a lot of these other people have, and I'm not a former professional player, which me, Blett, and Thorn are like the only people who aren't, and Thorn's like on his own island because of his brand, his entertainment value, his style of analysis no one else really brings to the table. He's like a real special case. It's basically just me and Blett. So that obviously puts me at a disadvantage with getting desk work. And I think I only did Rio and EPL basically, and a little bit of Arctic Invitational. I did like a bit of casting and analysis. I was originally going to go there as a caster, but then kind of swap to an analyst because it just made more sense for the people that we wound up having for the event. So when you figure you only do like a couple of desks in an entire year, it definitely kind of gives you that thought that, yeah, it's going to be really hard to get desk work. And look, I think that I'm plenty capable of being an analyst. I think I'm well-rounded. I'm really good at talking about like recent results, recent form, map pick ban, head-to-head history, stats, strategy. Strategy is my big one. I feel like I'm one of those people who is really good at studying the film before each event and kind of seeing how teams like to play and what tactics they run and what roles they have established. And then I'm quick to pick up on if they made changes, if they changed their map pool, if they've added new strats to their playbook, if they've changed roles, if they've swapped CT positions. I'm always on top of that stuff, and I'm able to break down, player matchups and say, this is what you need to focus on. Like this spot on the map is going to be heavily contested, so that's going to affect the game. And I think I'm really good at bringing those strategy things. But, while I am plenty capable, there's plenty of people out there who are plenty capable, as I've already kind of said, and they also again have edges on me when it comes to like branding and the credibility of being a former pro and all that stuff as well. So again, when I say that I'm capable, I am, and I think I'll always be ready for any desk opportunity that comes my way, but I have to be realistic and kind of know that there's not going to be that many of them, unless there's, budgeting situations or like event overlap or someone wants to take a break or whatever the case may be. Those gigs are hard to come by because the slots are so limited and there's so many really good and established people. So that's kind of goes with the consistency thing. And so that's a challenge I'm facing. And that's one of the reasons why I focus more on casting and trying to get the duo rolling with Vince again, was because I kind of knew that. But when it comes to the, duo with Vince, we kind of run into the same issue because there's 5 other established duos in CSGO right now. And there's other casters out there who kind of work individually but aren't like in a set duo. Like so there's a lot of names out there, right? That do some casting. But if we're just looking at duos, like Vince and I are like, I guess, the 6th duo outside the other 5. And so because there's all these other like really well established duos, it's hard for me and Vince to break in because we've only done 2 physical lands in the last 2 years. And then we've done some stuff online. Granted, we were a part of 4 lands this year because I think we still played a pretty decent part in the group stages of DreamHack Masters events this year. So we'll say 4, but only 2 physical lands. And so the point is like we're a step behind in that regard now. We just don't have nearly as much consistency or aren't as established as the other duos, which kind of puts you just where Catch-22 because you need to work consistently to kind of build up your brand and get that exposure and get that community feedback and kind of prove that you guys do a really great work and that you should be kind of cycled into the regular working thing. But you kind of can't do that if you aren't getting opportunities, right? Like it's this weird Catch-22 situation that we've run into. And again, it's just like the analyst thing. All those other duos are super capable. We have a lot of capable casters in this as well. And so it's always hard to kind of wedge your way in, right? Like in a perfect world, we'd all work a great amount, we'd all do well, but that's not always how it works sometimes. And again, it's nothing against any of the other casters or analysts. They all do fantastic work and they deserve to be where they're at. They're all working just as hard as I am. It's just one of those things where you're not always given the opportunities to work though. And so it's tough. It's like a weird Catch-22 situation, I guess is my point. Because I think that with our duo, Vince is a super strong play-by-play caster. He delivers hype really well. He crafts great stories. He's creates memorable moments, and he has like really good wordplay and pacing, and just has a great spirit, and he's just such a likable guy, and he's a really nice guy, and so I think he's such a strong commentator, and I think most people know that. But I feel like I do really well as a color caster. I think I bring some of those same strengths I bring on the desk, particularly when it comes to tactics, to the casting environment. I even have more room to work, and it's more fitting to talk about strategy in that environment. And again, I think I've improving my delivery and banter and stuff like that as well. So I feel like I can really play a good role there. And I think that we have a friendship that gives us some good natural chemistry. Chemistry can always grow and get better, but that comes with consistency and reps, which we just haven't really been able to get yet. And I think that's something that we did prove that we can improve on, though, particularly Rotterdam. I think we showed much better back and forth and banter and finding a good balance of, doing our core strengths, but being able to have a bit more fun with the cast and loosen up a bit. And so hopefully we'll get chances to kind of continue that development, because I think that if we do, we can be capable of really great things. But so are the other duos, right? So it's just one of those things where it just kind of depends on how the chips fall, right? We really believe in the duo. I think that we've gotten a lot of great community feedback, particularly with Rotterdam and some of the stuff we did for the DreamHack Masters remote events. We're getting great feedback from our fellow talent, whether that be directly face-to-face or via social media or something like that. And, I think that doesn't mean everything, obviously, but I think it does, show some value there. And so we'll just have to see how things play out. Again, I think I'm really confident that we could take off if we get that nudge, but I'm not sure if it'll happen or not. Again, next year is really up in the air, I'm not really sure. Like, we got this new league coming in, we got Blast making big changes, but it seems like all the orgs kind of already have their people that they work with regularly. So I'm not really sure where Vince and I can fit in as a duo, where I could fit in individually. It's one of those things we just don't really have any control, right? So we're just kind of waiting to see what happens, right? And so to kind of wrap it up, consistency is still something that I'm really wanting to get. And I think that's still like a big goal for me going into 2020. And we'll just have to see how it works. And I'm also still I really want to just work one tier 1 event, man. Like, just in person, the whole event all the way through. I've gotten to play small parts in tier 1 events like DreamHack Masters this year, E-League in the past. I've done some other remote stuff for tier 1 events, but I really want to be at the event, at the stadium with the big crowd. Like, I just really want one shot at it, whether it's with Vince as a duo, which is kind of the primary goal, or whether I happen to get that analyst desk spot at a really big event. I just want that feeling. That's the goal I really want to hit, just so if at some point in the future I have to walk away, I can have that one moment at like a big event where I can say that I made it almost to a degree. All right, not even necessarily a major. Like, I think I'm still pretty far off of that. I mean, obviously that's kind of another goal, but my goals are always kind of incremental. So first it's like getting consistent at the tier 2 level, building up my base, and then getting that tier 1 chance, maybe working tier 1 events semi-regularly, and then you kind of hope for the major after that, right? Not just kind of skipping the line. And so that's a goal that I really feel like I still need to hit to kind of be satisfied with my career. So we'll have to see how it plays out. The thing is I still have big goals in this game. I like to have to split my attention up now, because unless I can get like super consistent, but it's still something that I really want to pursue. I'm not giving up on yet. Maybe sometime in the future I'm going to have to, just based on, lack of work or what have you. But for right now, it's still a big focus of mine. I'm still going to work just as hard as I always do. And then I'm just going to have to split my attention a little bit, though, to focus on some financial stability working outside of esports, as needed. Look, all I can say is that I'm hungrier than I've ever been to work as a broadcaster in this space. This is my passion. I love Counter-Strike. I love talking about Counter-Strike. I love analyzing Counter-Strike. I love commentating the game. I love being a part of the community. Even with all of the hits I've taken along the way, this is still my passion. This is still my dream. This is still something that just fuels me every day. Like, something I really, really just want to chase after. I just need that opportunity. I need that consistency. I just need the chance to take, especially with Vince and I as a duo. I feel like we really can just do so much if we can get that consistency, and we'll have to see if that can happen or not. But I just want to make it very clear that I still have the same passion that I had, a couple of years ago when I really started focusing on this full time. That hasn't withered away, no matter what hits I've taken or what hits I'll take going forward. Certainly going to try my damnedest in 2020 with every opportunity I'm given to make the most of it and really try to make a push. I'm still going to be fighting for it, and I just hope that I have your support while I do that. And that's going to be the end of this video. Just wanted to give you folks an update on kind of what's been going on and what the outlook is going forward. And yeah, just follow, subscribe to this channel. I'm sure I'll also be posting content here as regularly as I can, as it makes sense and as I have time. And yeah, just keep a lookout. And again, if you enjoy what I do, definitely would appreciate your support going forward, as your continued support, I guess I should say. So that's going to be it. Catch you next time. Thanks.